Alright. What's happening, plebs? We out here with another episode of History of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, and I believe this is episode 10, which is a nice little round number for a very special occasion here, because I am joined by pretty much the most decorated player in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever. Historically. Something like 35 tops or insane like that. I'm here with Patrick Hoban. How are you today?
Hey, how's it going?
So, yeah, he's gonna join me here. And remember, guys, that History of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Player is a little bit different than just talking about purely Yu-Gi-Oh! We're gonna be exploring each individual, talking about who they are, where they came from, and what their relation to the game is. More than just like, hey Patrick, help me with my Blackwing deck, etc. Because I know you guys would send in a lot of questions like that. But just we're gonna talk about pretty much everything from the beginning. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what you do and what you did and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, my name is Patrick. I have 33 tops. I won 2 ICSs, 5 ARGs, and nationals.
Yeah, so not that much really, but yeah, that's absolutely insane. So where did you start off? Like, how did like Yu-Gi-Oh even become like a thing for you?
I guess like I played with like all my school friends or whatever, but I didn't really start taking it seriously until I got on like online Yu-Gi-Oh, like YVD back in the day. Is kind of when I started like taking it a little more seriously and figuring out what was actually going on in the game instead of like trying to summon blue eyes with no tributes.
I mean, that's a pretty good play if you ask me.
I mean, to be honest, we're summoning blue eyes with no tributes now in the meta, right? So
not much has changed.
circle, right?
But yeah, so when did you like first start getting into competitive play and decide to actually construct a deck worthy of entering a tournament with?
I guess I taught my first regional in like 2007, but I had been like, I've been playing since like pretty much the second pack ever, but I didn't really like know what was going on. Like there was a long period of time where I was just like, I don't know, I didn't have a clue basically. Like I started reading Metagame in like 2006. And so that was really kind of what got me hooked and like wanting to be good, but I just like wasn't for a long time.
I mean, you were only like 14 at the time, I'm assuming. So I believe we're the same age.
Yeah, I was born
so still really young. Like, do you like as a kid? Like, do you not feel like that's something that you didn't really care about, or was competitive?
I mean, when you're like 14 and like don't have a car, and your local is like an hour away, it's kind of like hard to play very much. And I didn't really discover YVD until like probably like 2007 or something. So yeah, it was kind of like harder to do before YVD, but like then once I found that, then I could like start playing more, because I still didn't have a car and like my local was still an hour away.
But your intention was always to like play competitively. I mean, you weren't kind of like
Yeah, ever since I started like reading like metagame and then saw like Paul Leviton and Shane Scurry and all of them doing well. Yeah, definitely. Once I started reading metagame.
So what actual archetype did you first play then? Well, if you even had archetypes back then, but what were you like consistently taking to locals and improving upon and playing with and trying to do well
I
with?
found my first regional with gadgets, so
Was this
I'm gonna go
like
again.
oppression gadgets or something? I'm kind of new to this. I don't really know about the history, but is that what that was?
No, oppression wasn't for like a couple of years after. Or oppression was like 2008.
Oh, sorry. I think I mean Ultimate Offering or something.
Uh, I don't think I played that. I don't remember. I remember I played like Banisher of the Radiance, I think.
Was that good at the time?
Yeah. Or I thought so. I don't know.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So when did you like first get your, proper, competitive? Well, you said you won your regional or topped your regional.
Yeah, I just topped it.
Okay. And did that give you a drive to, really improve and go forward? And where did you go from there, basically?
Um, well, I started like topping more regionals like kind of consistently. Like I guess around that time I got to the point where I was topping like every third regional or so. And but I really got better more from playing online. Like I was on like warring teams back then.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess I got kind of lucky and I like made friends with one of the people on one of the better teams and like he led me on that team, undisputed back then. And then so I was just like surrounded with a lot of better players and um, I guess I kind of improved a lot off that. Then I'm kind of moved to like Starless and all those teams back in the day that were like really good, and I think that definitely made me a lot better, and it made me want to keep getting a lot better.
Do
Because
you
like there was a whole like trash talking element back then. That was like a big motivator for like everybody. Everyone was like, "You suck," and they did that to like everybody, but like it was really motivating. I found.
do you think that's something that Yu-Gi-Oh kind of misses right now?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fun with it, so I yeah.
Because I mean, teams and stuff are very different to how they were back in the day. I mean, you don't really hear much really at all nowadays about wars and stuff like that. Do you think
Yeah,
that's maybe
exactly.
something that should kind of come back and give a bit of a
It's kind
resurgence
of
to
hard.
competitive scene?
It's kind of hard with Dueling Network not here.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's
it'd be
true.
hard to get people to go back to like YVD or something. Maybe Yu-Gi-Oh Pro, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so you started, consistently topping like your regionals and stuff like that at a really young age. To be honest, I mean that's pretty good for, especially considering I guess you're born and raised in like Georgia or Atlanta, right? So I mean, you had a fairly decent competitive scene for your local area.
No, I was living in like North Carolina at the time, actually,
Oh, okay.
um, and I didn't really like ever go to locals. And then like when I moved back to Georgia, um, mm, I don't know, like my locals was still like an hour away, so I didn't really go very much. I didn't start going to locals consistently until probably like 2010 or something,
And why is that?
just because it was so far away and I just didn't have a car.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Right. So, I wanted to ask about your DGZ days. Is that like around this time, or is that a little bit after once you start
Yeah,
getting into
yeah.
like?
I was warring on DGZ.
Right. Okay. Because I've heard some some rumors and stuff that you were quite the figure, I guess you could say, controversially on there. Tell us about that.
Because everybody's trying to like talk shit to everybody else, and I don't know. I found it like a really motivating environment. But like everyone wants to say like, "Oh, you're shit," and then like you just want to prove to them that you're not. But I don't know. You just kind of like feedbacking off each other like that. But I don't know. It was intense, but some people, but like I found it motivating.
Yeah. Do you think that's a positive in your like past, like being that way
Yeah,
online, or?
I have a reason to like want to get good. Like I guess I liked the idea of getting good off of like metagame, but I didn't really have a reason to like make me want to actually do what it took to get good without that. So yeah, I feel like it was good.
That's interesting. So like you kind of see that very not really hostile, but like super like intense kind of environment to be like a push
It was kind
factor.
of hostile.
Okay, yeah, kind of hostile then. So fast forward a little bit to when did you start getting your premier event success? Like what was your first big top?
My first top was Shonen Jump Nashville in 2010.
So what did you play? How did you prepare? What was your mindset going into the event?
I played Lightsworn, and I really wanted to play this Lightsworn zombie deck, and then like I thought it was all cool and like creative and different, and then I was just like, hmm. But I want to win, so I'm gonna play Lightsworn, and it worked out. Actually, I feel like the moment that I really decided that I wanted to like win was when I got to my first regional top. I remember I had sided a Time Wizard, right? And just because Time Wizard is my favorite card.
Okay.
And I was like, the entire time, I was like, if I get to top 8, I'm gonna side in Time Wizard. And you still played out top 8 back then. So I got to top 8 and I sided it in, and my opponent was playing 6 Samurai like before Gateway or anything. And he had this giant board of like a bunch of monsters. And I had Time Wizard in my hand, and I was just like, yeah, I'm about to summon Time Wizard and like win Time Wizard, right? And like I draw for my turn, I draw Lightning Vortex, and I'm just like, huh. Well, as cool as, Time Wizard is, I'm trying to win. So I played Lightning Vortex and discarded the Time Wizard. I feel like that was the moment that I just like decided that I wanted to like win at Yu-Gi-Oh!
Wow. So you guys heard it here first. Time Wizard was literally Patrick Hoban's epiphany to getting good. Damn. So yeah, where were we? Sorry. So Shonen Jump Nashville, and the
Nashville.
events were pretty not as big as they are now, but I mean that's still a fairly like sizable event. What do you think?
Yeah, I think
Go on.
what's
Sorry.
up? Sorry.
I was just gonna ask, like, do you prefer like kind of like those sort of smaller events, not really small, but like, or do you like the thousands and thousands kind of like level events?
Um, like it's weird because like the smaller events you have to go X1. So, but there's almost more of a cushion when it's a bigger event.
Hmm.
So like I feel like it's probably easier to get to top cut at a bigger event, but like easier to win a smaller event if you do get to top cut, because then there'll be fewer rounds in top cut. Whereas then you have to go like undefeated for a longer time once you get to top cut at a bigger event. So I feel like it's harder to win a bigger event, but easier to top a bigger event, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. Um, so moving on a bit, you're obviously take this. We're gonna take this time to shout out Pro Play Games and plug that Road of the King book. Make sure you guys check out Patrick Hoban's book, where you can learn all about his mentality and thoughts on the game and stuff. But asking a little bit about that, I'm curious to know, especially for like kind of newer players watching, what were like some of the major technical and deck building mistakes you made in the past, and how have you learned from it?
I think the biggest mistake I had to get over was like siding wrong. Where I would like side in non-engine cards that like countered my opponent, right? Like I don't know if I was siding like anti-spell or something. But then I would take out cards that like helped me get started. Like I don't know if I was. I'm just going to use a today example. If I was like playing Blue Eyes or something, if I took out like a Cards of Consonance and put in a card like I don't know MST or something, then I'm taking out one card that would get me started for a card that doesn't get me started,
Mm.
and I've like having to get over that and like only take out cards that don't get me started to put in other cards that don't get me started was like a big thing to realize.
Do you think that siding and like the game 2 and 3 like kind of card transitions that way are like super important? Because I know other players, for example, like Jeff Jones, for example, he kind of like hates siding and just like really focuses on creating like a really like super good like main deck like engine kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that important.
what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the engine is definitely the most important aspect of deck building by far. So, like, you want to get a good engine, and then you want to not mess it up.
Yeah, through like poor side deck choices and stuff. Yeah, fair enough.
Right.
Um, any other things that come to mind when you think of mistakes and stuff that you had done in the past?
Um, I think it's really important to always try and like build the best deck in the room. But like that sounds obvious, but like I mean, you're not gonna win an event like having some marginal advantage. You need to like try and create like a brand new deck, basically. Um, if someone wins with like a standard deck, it's because there wasn't a better deck in the room that was just like infinitely better, and someone had to win the tournament because there's still going to be a winner at the end of the day. But I feel like if you're going to go into a tournament and actually try and win, you need to find like the ridiculously good advantage. Like, um, for instance, Burning Abyss, when I played at the ARG, like Raleigh, I think it was, and everyone was playing like Mathematician and a bunch of traps and not using like Alec or Calcab because they were like, those monsters suck. And I was just like, well, yeah, they don't have the greatest effects, but they are more BA monsters. So like I just like cut the traps for more engine cards basically. And like my deck could just do more because I wasn't like relying on just summoning one Dante and setting some back. I was just like making more and more plays, and it was like a real significant engine advantage, I guess. I feel like you need to like look for advantages like that to be able to actually like win tournaments.
When did you realize that this was the correct method of deck building, rather than playing to top, as some people would call it, but playing to win? When did you realize that this was the correct way to go about deck building?
Probably early 2014. At that point, I had, well, maybe late 2013. Like when I won nationals, I don't think I really realized that yet. But then after that, with Dragoonities was like I think the first time I really did it. Like Dragoonity Dragon Rulers. Like I remember YCS Toronto. Like I got top 4 at that one, but then I won the next ARG. But when I played at Toronto, it was just like the easiest tournament because it was just like every round my deck could just do more than the opponent could. And that was kind of like when it really hit me, I think.
Yeah. One thing I like to compare a lot is like the fact that you and Desmond are like best friends and stuff, and he has like a stupid amount of tops, but he has like no wins whatsoever. Whereas you have like a lot of wins, and obviously a lot of tops as well. But you have wins and consistent wins as well. What do you think he does differently from you? Because you guys kind of like partner together and you build your decks together. Like what is it that he does differently from you that kind of like has stopped him from like winning, but like doing really well regardless?
I don't know. I think he. I don't know. I love Desmond all, but I think he makes a lot of stupid mistakes. Like, I know one of the tournaments that I won, we got paired up in top 16, and then like in game 3, he decided to let me go first because like I don't know, some like the way he sided, but we were playing the exact same deck, and like we knew that was incorrect, and then he let me go first, and I just opened like double Dante and like traps, and he just like couldn't play, and like if he had gone first, then he might have won that tournament instead of me. So like I don't know, I feel like he does a lot of things like that.
It's trying to be a bit too fancy, maybe.
Yeah. Like we were playing the same deck, and we knew it was wrong to do that. He was like, "I'm doing it anyway," and then I was just like, "It didn't work."
It's interesting. So I mean, fast forward a little bit. You've done so well at so many events and stuff, but I guess like getting to Worlds was like probably biggest highlight of your career. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You didn't do very good at Worlds though, did you?
No.
What was that about? Why do you think that was?
I think that was like when I guess that was kind of what first made me realize that you needed like a significant deck advantage because like at nationals I had like a fairly significant deck advantage, but like I didn't really realize that was like what set me over. I just thought that like I knew the mirror really well, and like I thought my deck was a little better. Like I think I was playing 3 Sacred Sword and everyone else was playing 1 or 2, and I main deck Vanity's Emptiness, so every time I drew the mirror I just flipped it at 1. But then like I like won, I did the deck profile, and then I got to Worlds, and now everyone else is playing 3 Sacred Sword, and everyone else was playing Vanity's Emptiness, and it was kind of like, huh, like you can't really outplay like a Vanity's Emptiness, and I didn't have that deck advantage anymore where I did at nationals, and I didn't like have the experience to know that like I needed that deck advantage, so I wasn't like actively pursuing it. I was just like, I know the Dragon Ruler mirror really, really well. I'm gonna like think that's gonna be good. And then it was just like my opponent was like flip emptiness, and I was like, huh, that never happened at nationals because it wasn't in the meta.
What would you have done differently then for Worlds, do you think?
Oh, I actually have the best strategy for Worlds. I came up with this 2 years late, but if I could go back, I would have for sure won. I would have put 3 of the Karakuri level 4 tuner in my deck, because then I would make a Drago Sack, and then I would banish my Dragon Ruler and go search the Flamvell Guard, and then I would summon and make a Beret, and with the 2 Drago Sack tokens, and Beret would summon another thing. Maybe I only need to play 2 of the Karakuri tuner, but then I would make another Drago Sack, and then make another beret, and then summon the other one and make a more. But then I would turn all their tokens to attack mode with the berets, and then I'd kill them through double Drago Sack. And I thought of it 2 years too late, but I would definitely do that.
Wow. That kind of goes on to the next one, actually. I mean, I was gonna ask, what do you think of like, well, not really what do you think about, but like, how do you think about building decks and stuff when it comes to like new cards or new sets or new events? Because I mean, for the longest time, I mean, you always say like, I don't read cards. Like, I just read them when they come out and stuff. Is that really true?
Dude.
Do you actually just not care that much?
I never read them within like a day or two before the set comes out. But I always look for cards that like give to myself rather than take away from my opponent. Like I like cards that, search. I like cards that,
Mill and
I don't
stuff.
know. Yeah, like I want to like go deeper into my deck because like whatever my deck's doing, I want to win because like my deck did what it was supposed to, not because my deck stopped my opponent. If that makes sense. Like that's why I don't like trap cards very much. Like I don't want to have to, rely on stopping my opponent. I feel like it's a much better strategy to look for all the cards that give to myself. Like that's why obviously Pot of Desires is so good because it just like gives you more cards. So I think that building your deck around getting to what you're supposed to do is a lot better strategy than building your deck to stop your opponent.
Okay. Have you ever played the deck with like numerous traps?
I mean, I have because like I definitely think the defense is necessary in every deck, like as much as I would like it to not be. But I think there is a number. And I talk about this in my book where like if you start going above what I think is like around 6 traps, then you start to see multiples and it kind of like hurts your hands because then if every other trap card that's in your hand is one less combo card that could be in your hand. But I think you can go all the way up to around 6 trap cards and then only see one ish per hand and it not hurt your hands too much in terms of like cutting into the number of combo cards you're drawing.
So when a new deck and a new archetype comes out, do you have a checklist of sorts to like see what the deck does and if you think it's worthy of playing? Like, do you kind of think, oh, this deck special summons lots, so that's one tick box? Do you have this kind of like process of thinking when it comes to new archetypes?
Definitely. Always trying to special summon. Always trying to have cards that give to myself, not take away from my opponent. And then like if they're cards that only take away from my opponent or focus on stopping my opponent, like I just I don't know, kind of dismiss it. I like cards that don't have much of a requirement to activate. Like for instance, Reinforcements of the Army is a lot better card than the Resonator card that's like shuffle 2 Resonators back and then search. Like even if you were playing a Resonator deck, you still have to have done something already for that to be the same thing as Rhoda. Whereas Rhoda, you can just play it. Mm-hmm. So like I always want the like low cost cards like that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So yeah, I think we've talked about the deck building and like the thinking with regards to technical, like actual mechanical issues in Yu-Gi-Oh. But while this is, of course, history of the Yu-Gi-Oh player, we want to talk a little bit more about you. Tell us like, well, what do you do in your like spare time and stuff? Like, what do you do like for like funding yourself for Yu-Gi-Oh and all that kind of stuff?
Now I just work on Hillary's campaign 90 hours a week.
So went from 80 hours a week at Nationals to 90 hours on Hillary.
Yeah, I have not played Yu-Gi-Oh! I did play a regional this weekend. I topped, so that was cool. But that was the first Yu-Gi-Oh! I've really played in like the last 3 months, and like there's only 6 weeks left, and I'm gonna start going to every event again after the campaign. But I feel like the campaign is kind of like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
Where do you see yourself in like 5 years? Like, I mean, you're a political science degree. You want to?
Right. I would like to. Well, when I came into this campaign, I thought that I really wanted to like keep doing campaigns, I guess. But I've kind of like come to the realization that that's not exactly what I want to do. Like the thing that I don't like about politics is it's like you're representing people, but like it's what if they don't know what's best, if that makes sense? Like I want to be the one that like comes up with the idea, um, rather than represents the idea. So I want to after this go work for a think tank, probably. Which like is just basically you sit around and try to think about how to fix the world.
Is there any specific
And
sector or something you'd be interested in?
yeah, I think I have like the start of an idea about how to fix Social Security, like an actual fix, rather than a lazy answer like raise it a year or two. I think I'm starting to come up with like a real solution. So like I kind of want to do that.
Are you going to do further education, like get a master's or a doctorate?
Yeah, I would love to, but not immediately. Just because student loans are already crushing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely want to.
Nice. So, where do you see yourself in like 5 to 10 years?
Um, I would like to become like a fellow for a think tank, which is basically just like, you know, like everyone comes to you and asks you how to fix things, and like I don't know, it's just basically thinking for a living about like social issues and stuff.
I mean, I don't know if it's called this in America, but it sounds like civil service. No.
Um, I'm not sure exactly.
Well, regardless, that's obviously something that means a lot to you. Something that I've always like been curious about. This is gonna sound really dumb, but like, if you're gonna be pursuing like a career in that kind of like political spectrum, and your employer Googles Patrick Hoban, and they see like, I'll take full responsibility for like a lot of it, and they see all these memes about Patrick Hoban. Does that like bother you?
No, my employer told me she Googled me.
Oh god. And what did she like think about that?
I don't. She hired me anyway, so
Like how do you explain that to people who like don't know what this is about
I just tell them I play a card game
and
and have probably.
and have a rather boisterous fan base?
Yeah, I remember my boss tried to add me on Facebook, and she was like, "Why do you have so many friends that I can't add you?" She did not understand.
God, that's really something. But hey, I mean, at least you don't see it as a negative. So I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, moving on. Let's spin back around to Yu-Gi-Oh. Talking a little bit. Let's talk about some social issues in Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, what kind of like big events and stuff have you seen throughout the course of the lifespan of Yu-Gi-Oh? Like, I don't mean like actual like tournaments and stuff. I mean like things that have just happened, like maybe drama and stuff that have like affected you or changed your perspective on the game, or even maybe just change your perspective on like people, like because this has been a big part of your life. So it's obviously you've made friends, met people, and it affects your life, especially
Yeah.
like when you're as famous as you are. Like, do you think it's impacted your life like negatively, positively, or do you think certain things have happened that have done this?
I think I only kind of understand the question.
So basically,
I mean, I
like,
definitely.
I mean, like you're obviously a huge personality, and you've been impacted a lot in some ways, for good and for bad. Um, what things have you been through like a lot of drama and stuff that have affected you negatively, essentially, or positively?
I mean, like, I don't really. I don't know. I feel like I don't get upset about like most things. Like when you're in my position, you're gonna have a lot of positive and a lot of negative, so you just kind of like tune out the negative, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, but I definitely think Yu-Gi-Oh has had a very positive impact on my life. I think it made me a lot smarter, to be honest. Like I would probably be a lot dumber without Yu-Gi-Oh in my life.
Yeah.
Um, it just like teaches you how to think. It teaches you like a lot of other skills that apply outside the game as well.
Yeah, I mean, like the first chapter in your book, for example, like, it just highlights just how in depth you've thought about applying like logic in Yu-Gi-Oh to like real life situations, like specifically when it comes to like all the biases and stuff. I thought it was really that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so what else have you thought about with regards to the future of Yu-Gi-Oh? Are you gonna just keep playing for the foreseeable future, or do you think you will like hang up the cards one day?
I mean, maybe one day, but like, I definitely plan to start going to every event again as soon as the election's over. YCS Anaheim is going to be my first event back, so I'm really excited for that.
Uh, what's your goals?
I think goals are really limiting. I don't like goals. I think that like as a like if you have a long term goal, but like as the closer you get to it, it starts to become like when am I going to get to it, not if I'm going to get to it. So and then like you start to see it as like going to happen, so you stop working as hard for it, and it ends up like taking longer to get there. So I don't know. I don't really like goals very much. I just want to like keep going higher, keep building more.
I'm assuming you want to go back to Worlds at least. I mean, surely that's a kind of like monumental thing you want to have another
Yeah, I
shot
mean,
at.
I would definitely like to do that. Like that is the like one event that I don't have, so I would like to do that, but I don't know. For the most part, I feel like goals are really limiting. Because like if that was like my only goal, because like it would be hard to like say I want to top X amount of random events, because like I don't know, that just seems like an arbitrary number. Whereas like if I make worlds my one goal or something, then yeah, I might be really motivated for that couple months leading up to it. But what about the other like 8 or 10 months out of the year? Would I just be like totally unmotivated because the only goal I care about is worlds? So I feel like I don't know. I feel like goals are pretty counterproductive. Like I'd rather just consistently try and be motivated, and then like when I get there, because I've been motivated for so long, that like it kind of builds on itself, and I'm like in a good position to do well and to do well enough to go back.
I mean, you said in your book that you really like wanted to overtake Adam Korn with the most number of tops, and
Right, but see, that was kind of like a double edged sword because, like, on one hand, it was really motivating um, to like get there, but on the other hand, as soon as I hit it, like, I went from topping 12 events in 2014, in yeah 2014 to topping five in 2015, and it was just because like at the end of 2014, I hit that goal, and then it was kind of like I lost motivation because like now I did it, now what? And I guess I just like didn't care as much. So it was one thing that I do think was good about that is I think most people like if they have a goal, it might be like win a YCS or something. And I think that's why you see a lot of people only win one YCS if they do win one, because then they get it and they're like, "Now I'm content. I'm happy with it." I do think the one good thing about my goal of trying to pass Adam was that even when I was winning, my goal was never to win a certain tournament. So like I didn't get content winning a tournament, and then by the time I got to actually passing Adam, I had won like seven tournaments already. So like I feel like the topping goal really helped the winning goal. Where if I had done it the other way, like I wanted to win the most tournaments, like it would have been really hard to get past five. I think.
so essentially all down to the journey rather than the destination.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, that's fair enough. So let's move into a little bit about the present, I guess. So where are you at just now? You're with Pro Play Games, new
Yep.
team and stuff. How did that go down?
Um, Machado just asked me to join. A lot of my friends are on the team, and uh, he gave me a good deal, so I went with it.
You were with ARG before, but I mean, was that like a team of sorts, or was that just kind of like a face of the
No,
company, or?
yeah, that wasn't really as much as of a team. It hasn't. It was a team like back in the day, but ever since he like started doing the circuit series, he didn't really want to make it a team. He didn't want to like have his own sponsored players like in the tournaments. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, once he started doing circuits, it stopped really being a team.
Hmm.
It was just more like advertising. Like we didn't work together like a team would. It was more like we wrote articles so that people would come to the site and be thinking more about ARG, so they would go to more ARGs kind of thing, rather than an actual team.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just checking the time right now. For those of you in chat want to throw some questions out at Patrick, we'll get to a Q&A shortly after I just have some of my own questions finished up. So anyone in the Twitch chat, if you guys just throw out some like non-Spurglord questions, that'd be really nice, and I'll read them out in about 10-15 minutes. But yeah, so where I want to go now is to talk about well, see, for me personally, like, you know, I've always like looked up to a lot of players and stuff, and I feel like that's something that's really helped is interacting with people that I really like in the game and people who do really well. Did you have any like role models of sorts or mentors when growing up? I mean, you did mention you did, but like, do you want to tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I mean, like ever since I just started reading metagame, like I always kind of like idolized all the best players, and like, I guess like Adam was at the top, like he had the most top, so like he was always kind of like who I wanted to pass. So like when I was thinking about like what I wanted to do in this game, like I was like thinking I want to pass him, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever interact with the bigger players and stuff back when you were just, you know, a regional regular?
Not that much. I started becoming friends with them like around like 2011, probably when I started writing articles for ARG. Is when I first started like interacting with like the bigger players. And that was like mid 2011.
How did that impact you?
I mean, it's like motivating to be surrounded by people who are like doing well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you ever think it's disheartening sometimes?
I mean, especially in like 2012. 2012 was a rough year for me. Just like in terms of the game, it was like almost every single event I would consistently get to like the last round, and then like lose out. So I don't know, like it was kind of hard, but it was also kind of motivating because like without something like that, then like you don't really have a reason to like do what it takes to actually get good enough to do well.
Mm-hmm. Just want to mention really quick, a lot of people in chat are asking things like, oh, what does he think about this archetype and stuff. It's like, it's not even out yet. Like, you literally just heard him explain he doesn't read cards until they come out, and you're asking about fucking zodiacs in like January. Like, that's not yeah. But anyway, where were we? So yeah, role models and stuff. I wanted to ask about your overseas expenditure. Well, not expenditure, expansion. You've been to a European event like once, I think, or something.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of European YCSs.
Do you plan to go more? And also, what do you think about them? Do you feel there's a difference with American events? Do you think there's like an actual maybe?
I don't think it's that different. I think that there are a lot of average players pretty much everywhere, and then like the best of the best are like pretty much compared. Like I think their average players pretty much compared to our average players, and their best pretty much compared to our best. So like I don't know. I think it's pretty similar.
But in terms of like the environment or maybe like the metagame and sometimes rulings and exclusives and stuff can get in the way of
I think one of the biggest differences has to do with like the way events are set up. I think they probably have a few more slightly above average players because it's really easy to travel in Europe. Like it's really cheap to travel, so like there's not as high of a cost for people to go to more events. Whereas over here, like there are a lot of people who like go to nationals and that's like the only event they go to that year. But because so like if it's a little bit cheaper, then they can take it like a little bit more seriously. So I think they're probably like more just slightly above average players over there. And the other thing is because we have ARGs like roughly once a month or so, and there are only a couple of CCGs and just like 4 or 5 YCSs a year over there. I think that they are a lot more likely to play like a very standard deck, because like people are really risk averse and they don't want to like if they can only go to a few events a year, then they want to like try and like make sure it counts. They don't want to like risk it. Whereas over here, because we have more events, we're just like, oh, we can try this one. It doesn't work. Oh well, there's another one in 2 or 3 weeks. Like so, we're more. I feel like we're more likely to try and like do something to define the meta, and they're more likely to consistently play something standard, if that makes sense, just because of the number of events.
That's actually really interesting. I never thought about it that way. The one final topic I wanted to address before going to Q&A. What do you think about the game of Yu-Gi-Oh itself? I mean, you stuck with it for so long. Why didn't you go off to like Hearthstone or Magic or something like that?
I think what I like the most about Yu-Gi-Oh is deck building, and I think that we are very kind of not limited because, like in Magic, where you have like mana, right? You can only make a certain amount of like small plays, like in the beginning of the game, right? But then here, we're not limited to that, so we can like do the most and we can do it early. So I feel like because I like deck building so much, I like Yu-Gi-Oh a lot because we're not limited by the you can only do so much because we only have a couple mana or whatever. Um,
Do you really think that's a good design philosophy for a game though? Because I mean, you have issues where a lot of people have been critical of recent formats of like, oh, the decks are just so powerful but so fragile these days. Where turn one you just make a big board and hope they don't crack it, and that's essentially it. It's just trading like big boards, especially the pendulum deck, for example, you played as a good example of that, where you just pop your Ariadne, set your Scoldings, make your 38, okay, go, good luck, have fun, thanks for coming. Do you think that
yeah,
that can, I mean, that happens a lot, like, do you like that?
I like it for like one event a format, if that makes sense. Like I like it at the beginning of each new format or each new set. I like it a lot, but then I think it makes it get old really quickly. So like that's why I always like when new sets come out. Even if I don't read them in advance, I still really like when new sets come out because it like keeps it interesting. And without like constant change, I think the game would get really stale. But I think because we don't have like a mana system or whatever, it makes the focus a lot more on deck building. Whereas in Magic, they're forced to kind of focus more on technical play because they can only make a couple plays in the beginning of the turn. Whereas over here, we're not limited to that, so it lets us focus on deck building. And I mean, I like deck building, so I like Yu-Gi-Oh the most, I guess.
What is it about deck building you like more than technical play, just as principles?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it lets you be like a lot more creative, and it lets you like it's hard to outplay everybody in the room when all you have is like maybe even if you're the best in the room, the average player probably knows 80% of what you know. So it's going to be hard to like yeah, you might get to top cut, but like to be able to consistently win tournaments, I feel like you have to focus on deck building because the only way to consistently like win a tournament is to have a better deck than everyone else in the room. And I think that's entirely possible. Whereas if you're the best player in the room, you're still the best player by like a very marginal amount. So I like that deck building kind of lets you go higher and lets you when you get it right, you really get it right with deck building. Whereas if you get technical play right, yeah, you got it right, but like the guy who was next best or even average almost got it right, if that makes sense.
Mm. One final thing before we go to questions. What's like some of the things you'd change over Yu-Gi-Oh? I mean, you've been playing since the very beginning, but mechanically, as a design philosophy, is there anything that you really don't like or feel like is outdated or should be changed or reversed?
No, I just like Yu-Gi-Oh.
You've never been someone to complain about formats or anything. You've just kind of like what I really liked the last time we spoke is it was actually really inspiring because a lot of people say like, oh, this format, blah blah, blah this format, but you were just kind of like, I'm just ready for the next challenge kind of thing. Like you've
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care what the change is. I just care that there is change because like that's where it's going to be so much fun. Um, is being able to consistently do something else. Like I don't want to solve the same puzzle over and over again. I want to like solve new puzzles. So like I don't really care what the change is. I just care that there is change.
Yeah. I think there was one last thing I forgot to ask. I'm sure I'll be kicking myself after we're done. But let's jump into some questions. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, someone's asking about like some of the controversial things in your book, like gin. But the other issue, for example, as well, was the issue of collusion or bribery or something. Apparently, it comes under with the emptiness issue, I think. So you say like, oh, if you take out emptiness, I'll let you go first, or something like that. Do you want to clear that up a little bit?
Oh, I thought I was legal. Guess it's not, but the gin thing is legal. Never done it. I just thought of it and I thought it was clever, so I put it in the book.
Yeah. And what about the gin thing? Because people, I mean, we've gone through this so many times, but you know,
I don't know. I feel like when it comes to the rules, I feel like there's no like barely legal. I feel like that doesn't exist. I feel like there's legal and there's not legal, and I feel like you should do what you can to win legally. And I don't like, I think if you imagine a box of legal and not, I think the closer you are to the edge, I think people associate as not good. Whereas I think as long as you're within the box, then it's still just legal. Like, I don't think there's different degrees of legal, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
How do you feel with Upstart going to one? So one of my friends mentioned a good point and stuff, like, you know, shout outs to Beaky. You know, he was saying like the card should essentially just be banned because like it just lets you play like less cards than the, you know, the actual standardized like number that Konami have set for you. What I mean, and it's your signature card basically. Like, you've been playing it since forever. You've always played 3 in like every deck. What did you think about the hit?
It made me feel powerful.
Did you think it was correct?
Put it in 1.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that they could do a lot of things, but like I said, I don't really think it matters what they do as long as they just do something. So like, I don't really care about any individual changes. It didn't like offend me or anything. I just like that there is change.
But do you see the card as a problem at all? The fact that it just simply lets you play less cards with pretty much no cost?
I like my deck doing what it's supposed to do, so I like being able to play less cards. But I don't know.
What was it like to write your own book?
It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
It took like over a year. Just planning it was like 6 months, and then writing it was, I don't know, it's like almost 500 pages. It is 500 pages.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of work, but definitely really rewarding. Glad I did it.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get through these as fast as I can. Was there any point in time you wanted to quit Yu-Gi-Oh?
Nope.
You've never, like, really? Like, you've never just kind of, like, sat there one day, like, failed your, like, 3rd event in a row or something, and just been like, oh, I fucking hate this game, frustrated, and never, ever had that feeling?
Nope. I just know that there'll be another format or another set come out, and then it'll change and it'll get better. I know formats get stale, and like when you build your deck right, they get stale quickly. But there'll be another format, so never really wanted to quit.
Well, it must be nice not to suck dick at this game. Let's see. Do you plan on coming to a European event anytime soon?
I would like to, yeah, but I don't have any like specific plans for any of the announced events.
Shout outs to Pro Play Games. Make sure you hook Patrick up with some travel over here. That'd be pretty awesome. If you could put any mechanic into Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, like Mulligan, what would you add, if anything?
Ooh, I got this one. So let's say you like summon Armageddon Knight. I would like to be able to like send a card from my side deck. Like if I could send Shaddoll Dragon, that way I could like have access to it, but then I don't have to like draw Shaddoll Dragon. I could only draw like the good cards. Mm-hmm. And there's like a real cost associated with it because like, yeah, I could do that and it seems really unfair, but now I'm also playing with a 14 card side deck. And if I do that for my entire side deck, then I'm playing with a 0 card side deck. So I think that would be a really interesting way. It would definitely make the game a lot more powerful. But I don't think that's bad because it would make it more powerful for everybody. So it'd be fine.
I think it's I disagree, but I think it's interesting that you think that if everyone has access to broken cards, then it's fine. Would you agree that's kind of how you think?
Yeah.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
don't think Dragon Rulers were bad. Like, they were definitely like the best cards ever, but like I don't think they were bad because like yeah, my opponent had Dragon Rulers too.
Yeah, fair enough. Um, do you think that cards that cannot be searched, which are currently at 1 or 2, I guess, should just be banned? For example, Soul Charge.
Um, yeah, probably like 0 or 3.
Hmm.
I don't really like the whole one aspect.
Yeah. What do you think are the weaknesses of some of the Blue Eyes deck?
It breaks. You have to play 3 blue eyes in it.
You say that like it's a bad thing. Like,
No, I'm not trying to draw blue eyes.
would you say the wind-up list you went 9-1 with was incorrect due to maining double MST?
It's probably incorrect because I'm making like a million traps.
What do you think of cards that say you or the player cannot, for example, floodgates essentially?
Oh yeah, I don't particularly like floodgates. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll play them. Like, they're broken, but like I wish they weren't.
um, what's been your favorite deck of all time? I'm assuming Ignites, right? If I'm correct.
Probably Dragon Rulers. I like Dragon Rulers a lot.
Do you think that has anything to do with just like your how would you call it? I guess like a bias towards it because you did so well with it, you went to Worlds with it.
Probably.
Fair enough.
But on the other hand, I also just like really powerful cards, and I think they're probably the most powerful cards ever. So,
Mm. What are your opinions on ABC? I did say people shouldn't ask questions about the future and stuff because you don't really care. But I mean, ABCs are sort of near or around the corner.
ever,
Do you know anything about them?
ever read them.
Oh, okay, fair enough. And oh, this is actually a good question. How were your DN days? I believe you got IP banned or something, right?
Yeah, I did.
What was that about?
I don't know. I just talk shit. I like talking shit. It's one of my favorite pastimes.
Okay, fair enough. Did you play a lot of DN, like constantly, like just on it, like grinding?
Not like a ton.
Mm.
I just liked it for the like search engine mostly. Like, I did play, but like I mostly used it for like a search engine.
I don't know if this is an inside joke or something, but someone's asking me to ask: do you still admit that European Rules of Kings Cup is better than America's?
Yeah, it is.
I have no idea what that's referring to, but sure, there you go. You got your question asked.
The drinking.
Oh, is it? What do you think about goats?
I like goats, but goats gets boring also because like there's not change, and I like goats when I'm in the mood for goats, but I don't love it because it's still like focused on the technical play rather than the deck building. Not like the deck building more. So like I prefer like today's format, but I still like goats.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that question about the Cup of Games came from Beaky, if you remember him, from over here in the UK.
Yep.
What was your opinion on having draft during Top Cut YCSs? And if you had the choice, would you change Top Cut back to draft?
That was broken because it was like if you just practice for draft, all you had to do was go X2 and you won the YCS because like no one else practiced for draft.
So, do you think that's better? I mean, I personally think you should just play with the deck. I don't. I think sure draft YCSs would be cool and stuff for Swiss and Top Cut, but I mean mixing them two together, I feel like is wrong. Like, what do you think about
I like both. I wish they did both.
that? So you want them to mixed, or you just mean like separate, like kind of YCSs?
Like, I wish they had like some draft YCSs, some maybe constructed Swiss draft top cut, maybe just some all constructed. Like, I just wish they mix it up. Like I said, I like change.
Mm-hmm. There's a question here from Hoban is bad. I'm not sure if this is like ironic. He's asking a serious question, but anyway. Would you rather play a deck with a higher ceiling along with a higher chance to brick, or a deck with a lower ceiling but more consistency? I think I know the answer to this because I've read your book. Hee.
Yeah, for sure, higher ceiling. But higher ceiling, more consistency. They don't have to like be opposites. They can be a higher ceiling and more consistent. But I would still pick higher ceiling. Less consistent between those two.
What are your thoughts on America having different rulings compared to the rest of the TCG?
They just probably get their shit together, probably. But like, hey, I do have to go here in a minute.
Okay, cool. I think that's pretty much all of the questions wrapped up, really. So yeah, I'll just do my little outro now. Yeah. So this has been another episode of History of the Yu-Gi-Oh Player. This time with Patrick Hoban. I can't thank you enough for agreeing to come onto this. Make sure you guys do check out his book. I personally have reviewed it on my channel, and I think it is definitely worth a purchase. So anyone who takes this game seriously, definitely check it out on Amazon. You can even get it as an ebook now, right? So really is no excuse. Make sure you check out. Oh, sorry. I'll let you go real quick.
Talk to you later.
See you later, man. So, yeah, he had to head out, but yeah, make sure you guys check out Pro Play Games. And you can find this video on my YouTube channel, not tonight, but tomorrow night, because I have to give some kind of advantage to y'all for coming out to the stream live. But yeah, I'll put it up. What day is it today? Yeah, it'll be up on YouTube Tuesday night, so tomorrow night, because I got some deck profiles and stuff lined up. But yeah, this has been History of the Yu-Gi-Oh Player with Patrick Hoban. Thanks, guys.